Welcome to Catalyst. Go ahead, Joe. Your music will keep going for a while. Hey, glad you're here. Let me open us up in prayer, and then I'm going to get a ton of information to you in like 2 minutes. So join me in praying. God, we thank you so much that you're moving in this city, that we're not left here on our own, that we're not just working in vain, but we get to join you in what you're already doing, and we just get to watch what you're doing. Which is really amazing. So I thank you for all of these leaders, for all of these people in this room who've given really their lives and given everything to benefit others. So thank you for them. Bless them today, God. And we're here for you, and we love you. In your name, amen. So my name is Andrew Kaufman. I work here at Crosspoint as the local rescue director. Basically getting to work with a lot of you, some ministries in our city, and getting to equip and champion our church, and getting them really from the pews into the streets of the city, into their neighborhoods, and yeah, doing the work that God wants them to do in building relationships and loving people well. So you're here for the right reason, and we're glad you're here. With that, one thing that we have coming up, if you look on your table, you'll see there's a couple cards for Rescue Conference, something we host here actually in this room. We did this last year for the first time, and it was awesome, so we're doing it again. We're hosting it, but our hope and my hope is really that it's a community thing. It's more than just Crosspoint here. So you're absolutely invited. We have some speakers you'll recognize. Marvin Jacobo's one, if you know who he is. Yeah. Ow! Debbie Johnson. We're bringing in Mike Foster, and then there's a lot of different breakout leaders from a bunch of different ministries, some panels. So we're really excited just to be championing the cause of getting people out into the relationships that they have, and equipping them to be able to love well, build relationships, and bring hope to people. Because really that's what we're about as a church, is bringing the hope that we know in Jesus to people who are hurting or struggling. So if you're interested in that, one thing, we wanted to give you a discount. So if you're at Catalyst, you're a part of this, if you use the code Catalyst when you register, we're going to give you $10 off. It's $25, so you'll get it for $15. That's a steal. But we hope you come, because it really is important, and your voice matters in that. It's not just, let's teach you everything. It really is us joining together to seek what God's doing. So there's that. If you could, and you do, if you have Facebook or you're online, check in really quick so people know you're here. It's really cool to see all these people every week, and we want to see it grow. Not because we want Catalyst to be this big thing, but because we know the relationships here are big. So check in so people know. If you're the first-time guest, there's actually a card on your table for that. Fill that out so we can get in contact with you. If you're returning, you know the drill. Just put your name on that returning list so we can know you're here as well. One other thing, so we're going to get to some of the cards here. There's also a Catalyst card on your table that kind of, on one side has some information about the upcoming stuff, and then on the other side it has a bunch of networks. So if you're in here feeling like, man, I'm on my own out here, you're not. And maybe you should just look at this and find some place to go connect with people. Find a network that hits you, something that would help, and go be a part of that. And the next thing, there's a card here. Has anyone ever heard of Love Modesto? It's something that happens here every year. I'm sure you've heard of it. For you guys, if you still have a project you want to submit, you can still do that. So if there's something that's burning in your heart and you want to do it for Love Modesto, you totally still can. So do that. All the information's here. There's also already, I think, 100 or so projects on there, which is awesome. So get involved. Get your ministries involved. Get your churches. Get your businesses. I know most of you probably already are, so I'm trying to convince people who are already championing it. But just so you know, those are there. Grab them, take them to people, get those out. Another thing, there's a whole lot going on. Global Leadership Summit is something that's coming up as well. And Dave Bushnell, I think, is here. Yeah, right in the middle. So if you have information, Global Leadership Summit is awesome. It's based in Willow Creek, but they do sites all over. And so we're really excited. There's actually going to be one in Modesto this August. So come to that first. But yeah, if you have any other questions, maybe you want to get involved, or you want to bring a group, or you're just even wondering what that even is, you can talk to him afterward between, or you can grab Marvin or Jeff too. I'm sure they can get you more in the loop as well. But we're really excited about that coming to Modesto. So that will be coming up. You'll be getting more information August 10th and 11th. Just put it on your calendar now because you're going to want to be there. Okay, now that we're done with all of that, What we're going to do now is I'm going to tell you all to stand up, but not yet. You're going to stand up, find someone you don't know, or a face that you recognize that you've forgotten their name, and you feel horrible that you're going to have to go up to them and say, I forgot your name. But go find that person, and then ask them this question. Talk about this for a couple minutes. Talk about a time when you thought you hit rock bottom, but you were able to bounce back. And with them, share one thing that helped you, one piece of knowledge, maybe one skill or one practice that helped you to bounce back from that. So find that person, just be a little humble and admit that you forgot their name, but you feel horrible about it, and then talk about that for 5 minutes, all right? And then we'll get back to it. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. Can we take a seat? Thank you. It's amazing to me when we start hearing people's stories, we realize our stories is maybe not as significant, but every story is significant, isn't it? Some of us have bounced back from disastrous business ventures. Some of us have bounced back from tragedy of losing a young one or an older one. Some of us bounced back because we lost a job. All of us have those things that have caused us to be able to bounce back. I'm going to give you a new word. Resiliency means not giving up. Resiliency means not giving up. And what I mean by that doesn't mean that you have to be happy all the time, doesn't mean that you have to put a smile on your face, doesn't mean all those things, but you know where your source of resiliency comes from, and that's our Jesus Christ, our Lord. But more importantly, in the business world is how does that fit into the business world? How does that fit into the model that we work in? My name is Vicki Trask. I work with Stanislaus County Office of Education. I've been a teacher for 35 years. You're supposed to say I don't look 35, okay? That's my laugh, by the way. I'm not having a heart attack. I hesitate laughing because sometimes people go call CPR on her, you know. One of the things I want to say is the fact that this last couple years have been shown and demonstrated resiliency in my own life. Today is not my story, but I just want to tell you briefly what resiliency means to me. About almost 2 years ago, I was out to dinner with some good friends. And I got a phone call saying that my house was on fire. Now, with that being said, when I came home, there was 5 trucks at my house. They called it a 2-alarm. I don't quite understand. It should be called a 5-alarm. And I looked at the smoldering possessions that were gone. Everything was gone. And I looked at that and I said, you know, what can I learn from this lesson? And then I realized it was just stuff. It was just stuff. But more importantly it was my stuff. And I had to process that because my background is I was raised in 22 different foster homes and bounced from foster care to juvenile hall to foster care. And then when I was in foster care, I was living by a dumpster eating out of the trash can. I also had a learning disability, so I stuttered most of my life. Easy did not come easy for me. School did. I hated school and they hated me. I was a juvenile delinquent, as they classify. That's kind of a little brief about bouncing back and not giving up. Today I stand here, May 25th, I graduate with a doctorate degree, the highest degree you can get. Now I don't tell you that story because I want to be proud and look at her, what she's done. I just want to say I never gave up. It wasn't because I was the smartest kid on the block. And it wasn't because I was the prettiest kid on the block. Of course, I think my hair looks pretty good today, and I think beauty comes from within. Yeah, I think we have to go back within ourselves, and we have to look that things happen from the inside out, not from the outside in. No matter if you're a business owner, or no matter if you're a pastor, or no matter if you're a teacher, whatever your role is, we have a responsibility to never give up. And if we don't give up for ourselves, don't give up for other people because people are watching you. There are 2 young men that came into my life a couple weeks ago, and I met these young men, and they definitely demonstrate resiliency. Today, I'm going to be asking them a couple questions about how they demonstrate resiliency in their life. Listen to their stories. Take one thing away from that and realize that you can apply it to your own life. Never, never give up. And then we're going to end with a short video that's one of my favorite videos. And I watch it at least 3 times a week because there are times I want to give up. And I'm sure we all can attest to that. But we don't give up. So at this time, I'd like to have these 2 young men come up on this way. Come on up. Let's give them a big hand. Let's encourage them. And we're going to have a conversation about how they've shown resiliency in their life. And then what we're going to do is we'll end today, and hopefully what you walk away with is some tools in your toolbox to not give up. So if you've lost a business, lost a spouse, lost a child, whatever it is, don't give up. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
Are your mics on there? I think he turns them on.
Yeah, there we go.
You know, I like this. Andrew just says, Vicki, just get up and start talking. So I started talking and it wasn't on. That's kind of how life is, isn't it? Sometimes you start talking and nobody's listening. But I want you to listen. Okay, so here we go. Can you introduce yourself and tell me a little about what you do?
Okay. My name is Andres Regalado, and I'm a family service counselor at Lakewood Funeral Home and Cemetery. And who I am is a man of faith, a family man, a father, and a friend. And what I do is assist families during times of celebrating their loved one that has passed.
Super. Thank you for that introduction. And Sergio, can you tell us a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah. My name's Sergio Lara. I'm the program coordinator at Center for Human Services for the Father Involvement Program. I am originally from Michoacan, Mexico. The program itself is funded by Behavioral Health and Recovery Services, and it's really a learning project to directly impact fathers and improve their mental health and well-being, as well as their involvement with their families, their children, all around Stanislaus County. And Vicki, if I may, I just want to thank my mother. She's in the audience. She can stand up si se quiere parar, mamá. La quiero reconocer y darle las gracias. Thank you. And one thank God as a man of faith.
Good. I think the big thing is we all have a story as we talked and we broke out here, and these two young men have a story. So at this time, could you tell me a little about your story, Andreas?
Yeah. I think my story starts here today, being on this stage and really being in the presence of all of you amazing people in this community. I would have never really imagined myself to be here today and being honored. Growing up in my lifestyle, I grew up in a dysfunctional home. I grew up in poverty, not really realizing it until, several years ago. I grew up with a stepdad that came from Mexico. We struggled. We attempted, to make ends meet. However, back in 2004, he was deported. So my mom, madly in love, gave me the opportunity to follow her with him to Mexico. However, I chose not to. And at this time, I lived in Fresno, California. So I stayed behind and I stayed with family. I ended up being homeless. I ended up struggling through high school. I went to 11 high schools because I was constantly in trouble, classified juvenile delinquent as well, till the age of 18. So I really struggled, really had a hard time. I ended up getting my GED. I then pursued college and attended college. So really overcoming a lot of these challenges and just being here today is a story of resiliency for myself.
You said that you were homeless, and one of the things we face that in our community very much so. We see that on our streets, and being homeless is something definitely to be able to bounce back. Do you have a home today?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And my fiance is also here as well.
I was hoping you were going to introduce her.
So her name is Emmy Pham, and I just want to say thank you for being here, babe.
Yeah, that's good. If you can't do it here, where can you do it? We do it with our family. So there's a couple things that you said there that you bounced back from. Homelessness, not having a family, and then all of a sudden coming back and going to school. And now making life into death and death into life. Sergio, can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Well, my story begins in Mexico, and when I was born, I didn't breathe. So I spent 5 days, almost a whole week in an incubator trying to have doctors resurrect me, I guess, if you will. And I'm glad they did, because I'm here. When I came to the U.S., I had the fortune or misfortune of growing up as an immigrant youth. I later became a dreamer, formerly known as AB 540 students or undocumented students. But it was a big blessing. I got through UC Berkeley as an undergraduate and CSU Stanislaus as a graduate student in counselor education. I had to pay my way through college. I never touched one dime of the federal financial aid. I faced a lot of barriers. We got called terrorists for advocating for higher education and immigrant youth. While I was out there, our home got raided as well. So we survived raids. We survived a lot of things. Coming back home to Modesto, my welcoming was getting evicted with my family from our apartment. So like Andres, we were homeless for a little while. Overcame that. and kept moving forward. And really what that all taught me was that resiliency, for me, it's a state of mind. It's about your character and your attitude towards yourself, towards other people, and towards the things that life throws at you sometimes. And resiliency is a decision. And so we decided not to give up. And so that's why we're here. Just want to encourage everyone to, and really circling back to my work, just to empower fathers in your community, get them connected to fatherhood efforts, fatherhood groups, whether they're formal or informal. We'll eventually find our way around. So anyways, thank you, Vicki.
You're welcome. Sergio, now you talked about this fatherless project that you're involved with, behavioral health. Can you tell us, so you have an upcoming event that you'd like to end with, and tell us about that?
Yeah, there's more information coming, but save the date on April 1st. It'll be an opportunity to come out, and really an opportunity for dads to come together and share their stories. Yeah.
Super. And there'll be an email that'll be blasting out tomorrow, I guess, about that. Is that correct?
I think that's correct, yes.
Oh, super duper. We'll be looking for that. What words of encouragement can you get? You say that you work in the industry of helping people with life choices and death choices that they have to make. What encouraging word would you like to give people about resiliency and bouncing back?
Really just never losing hope and focusing on something that you can envision in the future, and holding that image present to carry you forward, to continue to move forward to what it is that you ultimately want to get to. Similar to Sergio, that's what held me, and that's what allowed me to overcome all of my challenges.
So I want to say that the fact is that resiliency is a state of mind. It really is a state of mind, and what you do with that state of mind. And whatever you thinketh, it happens. If you have stinking thinking's going to happen, I call it. Right? Do you want me to laugh again? No. These two young men have bounced back. They have changed their life. We're going to watch a short little clip, if we could, and talk about one of the men at Barcelona who actually bounced back. His life took a turn, and then we're going to come back and just circle back and talk about a little bit more about resiliency. But it really is your story not to give up. I see a lot of bouncing heads saying, yes, I've bounced back. And how we bounce back and why we bounce back and how we do it and why we do it, I think it comes to that conclusion that it's a personal story. But when it becomes a non-personal story, that's truly when you can make a difference in our community. We have a lot of people that need to hear about not giving up. We have a lot of people that have lost their homes. We have a lot of people that are in lost businesses. But the one thing I want to encourage is not to bounce back. These two young men exemplify not giving up. Can you imagine coming to a country not speaking a word of English, not knowing what your home's going to be? It's going to be a car or a street or a dumpster. We all have those stories in our lives, but it's not giving up and bouncing back. So at this time, I'm going to show you a short little clip. Are we ready for that, guys? Super. Okay, let's get out of the way, guys, so they can watch this video.
soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Powerful, isn't it? Later on, what happens, Derek actually runs a race and actually ends up winning the race years later and winning not just one medal, 5 medals. No, it's not about the race sometimes. It's not about the journey. It's how we handle ourselves. We cannot do it by ourselves. The one thing about Catalyst that I love is the fact we have people from all different walks of life that come here that we can network with and talk to and learn from. And that's really what it's all about. Each of us have a journey in life where we can help each other in business, in industry, whatever the case may be, school, education, learning how to deal with death situations, like one of our young men talked about. All those things are a journey that we have to go through. My thoughts to you today is this: bounce back. Don't give up. That's what it's all about. Today what we're going to do is we're going to actually get a couple questions. Is that what we're going to have on the screen? But before I do that, can I have these young men come up again? Let's give them a big hand for sharing their stories. Would you like to say one last thing, Serge, before we end?
Yeah, thank you. And we all have our cross we got to bear, or our path. And it's not about, like my pastor said, it's not about starting the race. We could all start it. Some of us start, come out of the womb crying or not breathing, but it's how we finish it. So. Again? Yeah. So her name's Annabelle. So if you haven't seen her, she's out there. Salude, Mom. Wave. Thank you, Mom.
I guess I just want to encourage each and every one of us, or you guys, that we all go through something, we all struggle, and no matter what, just stay plugged in. Stay plugged in with this community. Stay plugged in with somebody that's going to keep you motivated, somebody that's going to keep you driven. That's something as well that also kept me going, and just having that right mindset, so.
And I do have to share one little last story. When your house burns down, you can fill it up with other stuff. And I've chosen not to fill it up with a lot of stuff. I've learned to fill it up with people and things that matter. So remember, it's all about people and the people that we network and work with. It's not about that. Don't go before me. I may not follow you. Don't walk behind me. I may not lead you. But let's walk by each other's side and be each other's friends. Thank you so much. And here we have a couple questions here. Thank you, boys. Are they going to do this again? Got it. Okay, here we go. I'd like you, it says meet with one person, just one person that you do not know, or one person at your table that you do know. And what I would like you to do, and don't leave and don't take this shortcut, and that you help someone bounce back. And how did you help them do it? How did you help them do it? Not your story, but what bouncing back and answering this question. Meet with one person at your table and share a time you helped someone bounce back. And how did you help them bounce back? Let's do that right now. Thank you.
You are the constant, my constellation. You're the steady hands of a ticking clock that I've come to realize.
Weren't the two gentlemen, weren't they incredible? And the great thing about it, and I've been talking just to a couple of you, is that there are so many more young men and women and old men and women in our community that are rising stars, that are incredible people that just need for us to reach into their lives and either dream for them or just like the dad did for Derek Redmond, pick him up and walk with him as he limps until he can get up back on his own 2 feet. And all of you are those kind of people. So I'm hoping that not only do you have somebody in your life that you're carrying them as they're limping, but also too that you have somebody in your life. I was with somebody yesterday, but he talked about the loneliness of his leadership, feeling deeply lonely. And that could be a characteristic for all of us. And as we thought about telling the story about resiliency, there were so many of you that came to our minds about should we tell that story and should we invite them to tell their story, be willing. In fact, we had one gentleman that we were going to ask them to tell the whole story of when his name was drug through the newspaper. I don't know if you've been there, but your name gets dragged through the paper, and Modesto B is not about the paper, but when your name gets drug out in public, and then when it's corrected, it's back on page Z29 in a little corner, and you never. And he said, I'm not ready to tell that story yet. I am not in a place where I can talk about that and celebrate what the good things that have happened in my life because of it. So I want to say to all of you, man, you all have stories, and I hope you'll share those things because we learn best from each other on those things. So I want to thank you for being here. I want to say a couple of just things, and I want to end it for you. There are some young students in the room today, college students. So Bob Irwin, you invited your class from Southeastern University. So if you're here, can you stand up? And then I'll tell you why I want to introduce them. So all of them. That's right. And I think there's Ben Brown over here somewhere. Where's Ben? Where's Stephen? Is he? There he is, Ben. And Stephen's somewhere, one of the teachers. Thanks, you guys, men and women. Thank you so much. One of the things I want to raise up with them, and I want to raise with you just some of the expressions of Catalyst, whether it is Inspire Women, whether it's Recovery Modesto, whether it's Pastor's Lunch or Lunch for Congregational Leaders, whether it's students. Here's what's happening. We want, with so many of you others, and I see my friend Jim, the city manager here, he's a lot of men and women's friends, is that we want to continue to nudge and shift the conversation of what leadership looks like for our city. Old models of leadership, we've got to consider to putting those away and expanding our toolbox, learning collaborative skills, learning partnership skills. And I want to say to you, this is more about me. I was such a fool to say my only model of leadership was what was going to shift our city and our country and our whatever it was. One model of leadership, one position of leadership. It takes all of us, right? It takes all of us. Ty's over here. Ty is a teacher, and I was telling something I think last month about I don't do spreadsheets, and my board men and women go, oh my gosh, he doesn't. He just spends money. That's all he does. And Ty came up to me and said, I can teach you Excel spreadsheets. Well, thanks, Ty, but that's not what I want to do. It takes all of us. It takes every style of leadership. And I say to my own shame, for so many years, I thought it was just about, well, if I just do it this one way, that's going to work. No, it is so much more complicated than that. And I was talking to a young gal yesterday. In our city, everything is trust and relationships. So get out of your silo. I want to encourage you, get out of your silo. It's not just about you. You've got to learn how to meet other people and figure out how to work together from every sector. So we want to intentionally nudge the conversation and shift the conversation about what leadership is like in our city. If you don't like somebody, sit down and have a conversation with them. If you don't understand, sit down and have a conversation with them. I had a trusted conversation yesterday, and I said, I need you to help me understand with something. This is what's going on publicly. I won't give you any more specifics other than that. Please tell me the backstory. And then I heard some of the backstory. It's like, oh, okay. So do that with each other. Trusted relationships. Whether it's Catalyst, whether it's the women, Inspire Women, and we're not going to do all the slides, guys. I'm just going to Inspire Women, Recovery Modesto. You create your own thing. but let's get out of our silos. It's going to take all of us. And I'll tell you right now, don't be like me. If you think it was just your style and because you're going to be all that, have a lot of fun because you're going to be all by yourself. And coming toward the 21st and 22nd century, the issues and problems that my generation created for you young men and women, my solution ain't going to solve your problems. And so you've got to continue to be wise when it says in the Old Testament that the men of Issachar understood their times and knew what they should do. Understand your times. So, sorry, got in my preacher mode there. No apologies. So, Southeastern University, and we're shifting the conversation. What I want to show just one slide, and I want to just encourage you greatly. Global Leadership Summit, Andrew. One of the major pieces that we want to encourage you and as many of your friends and men and women in every sector of our community, we're going to be hosting in Modesto with some others. And there'll be more conversation about this Global Leadership Summit in August. It is a 20-year world-renowned conference on leadership, and it is a place that we're going to be asking and encouraging you and pushing in a respectful way as many people possible, whether it's government, business, the private sector, public sector, church sector, whatever that is. But let's get in the same room together and hear the same conversations and topics about leadership, and let's have conversations about that. Now, it's a Thursday and a Friday, so you'll need to consider how that's going to happen, and it's not going to be free. So I want to just encourage you to put it on your calendar now and consider if you can make it happen, okay? I know all of you, and I know me. I'm already thinking in the summertime, in the fall, I've got to block things out so I can stay healthy. And so I want to tell you now, if you can, just put it on your calendar, and then you sit on it. You'll be hearing more about it, and then consider whether you can make it happen. But the idea is this. We're going to get in the same room together to begin to hear the same outstanding global leaders about leadership and a conversation about what that looks like. And so I want to encourage you to be a part of that, okay? Because you are now the nudgers and the shifters when it comes to what leadership is going to look like. Because I can tell you what, this morning we had an opportunity to hear two men and an incredible woman about what it means to bounce back. And we're all going to need those friends around us who understand what that means as we go forward in this incredible city. Modesto is going to be a great city to continue to be a great city to grow up in and to grow old in. It is, my friend says, a city of great neighbors. All right? Okay, let me thank God for you. Lord, thank you for what you're doing in us. Thank you for Andres and Sergio, for Vicki. She surely is a matriarch to so many young men and women. And Lord, I know that there are men and women right now that have not yet bounced back from their own story. I pray that even now, two things, that you would prompt somebody to go to them and just ask the question, can I be your friend? And then number two, that there might be somebody who's struggling and just says, hey, can we get together and be friends? I just need to talk with you. And I pray that each one of us would resist the temptation to not give a 3-point outline about why somebody shouldn't feel the way they feel, but that we would be good listeners and good hearers. Would you do that for each one of us, Master? Lord, thanks that this city is going to be a great place to grow up in and to grow old in, and it's going to take all of us. In Christ's name.